What's up, Unchannel community, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, as you'll see in the thumbnail and title of today's video, we'll be having a look at a motherload of DVDs. This is the motherload part 1, so without further ado, let's get into the video. So we're going to start off with A Bug's Life. Here's the back. Here's disc 1 and disc 2. Toy Story 2. Here's the back. Here's the disc. Finding Nemo with the slipcover. Here's the back. Here's disc 1 and disc 2. Ice Age. Here's the back. Here's the disc. Another Ice Age. Here's the back. Here's the disc. Ice Age 3, Dawn of the Dinosaurs. Here's the back. Here's the disc. Hoodwinked. Here's the back. Here's the disc. Robots. Here's the back. Here's the disc. The Jungle Book 2. Here's the back. Here's the disc. Now on to the next pile. We got the Aristocats. Here's the back. Oh. Here's the disc. Some of them are also crusty as well. Cars. Here's the back. Here's the disc. Shrek the Third. Here's the back. Here's the disc. Double bonus DVD pack including Shrek Forever After, the final chapter, and Donkey's Christmas Shrektacular. Here's the back. Here's Shrek Forever After, and Donkey's Christmas Shrektacular. Puss in Boots. Here's the back. Here's the disc. Kung Fu Panda. Here's the back. Here's the disc. Madagascar Escape to Africa. Here's the back. Here's the disc. Alpha and Omega. Here's the back. Here's the disc. The Croods. Here's the back. Here's the disc. Monsters University. Here's the back. Here's the disc. Inside Out. Here's the back. Here's the disc. Big Hero 6. Here's the back. Here's the disc. The Secret Life of Pets. Here's the back. Here's the disc. Despicable Me 3. Here's the back. Here's the disc. Wallace and Gromit, 3 Cracking Adventures, including A Grand Day Out, The Wrong Trousers, and A Close Shave. Here's the back. Here's the disc. Wallace and Gromit, A Close Shave. Here's the back. Here's the disc. Now this is two of my greatest finds. Well, three of my greatest finds for this video. We've got The Godfather. Here's the back. Here's the disc. The Godfather Part 2. Here's the back. Here's disc 1 and disc 2. And we have The Man with the Golden Gun, James Bond. Here's the back. Here's the disc. And we've got Grease. Here's the back. Here's the disc. Oh. Spin around too much. The Pink Panther. Here's the back. Here's the disc. Double feature 2 DVDs including The Trial of the Pink Panther and Revenge of the Pink Panther. Here's the back. Here's The Trial and The Revenge of the Pink Panther. Edward Scissorhands on slipcover. Here's the back. Here's the disc. Robin Hood, Men in Tights. Here's the back. Here's the disc. The Shawshank Redemption. Here's the back. Here's the disc. Another James Bond, Tomorrow Never Dies. Here's the back. Here's the disc. Moulin Rouge. Here's the back. Here's the disc. The Rookie Terror Picture Show. Here's the back. Here's the disc. The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. Here's the back. Here's disc 1 and disc 2. The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. Here's the back. Here's disc 1 and disc 2. The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. Here's the back. Here's disc 1 and disc 2. When in Rome. Here's the back. Here's the disc. It's a Very Merry Muppet Christmas Movie. Here's the back. Here's the disc. Chicago. Here's the back. Here's the disc. Taxi Extended Version. Here's the back. Here's the disc. Let's see if I hit the camera. We got Downfall. Here's the back. Here's disc 1 and disc 2. And then the last one to end off this video, we have got The Muppet Show. Here's the back. Here's disc 1, disc 2, disc 3. So that concludes part 1 of the Motherload collection. I have got more stacks here, so yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll talk to you all in part 2.